This is the story of wealthy heirs who travel through time to illuminate lonely heroes. This is also a system that uses weaving loopholes in excellent TV dramas to let the female lead start understanding how much long the people who are about to welcome a new life have put in. Yingzhe, the faint light, is the only light in the lonely kite's dark forbidden zone, and the navigation of proud pilots on the ground. Keywords of the novel. Redemption of the Comprehensive Spy War with no pop-ups, complete collection download of the Comprehensive Spy War Redemption TXT, latest chapter reading of the Comprehensive Spy War Redemption. Chapter 1. 6 Brothers in Danger and 2 Women Startled. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. 6 Brothers in Danger and 2 Women Startled in early spring 1946, Xiangyi. In this city with ups and downs, there are many steps, but as a wartime capital, it can still be considered one of the busiest cities in the Republic of China. At a glance, the streets and alleys are filled with grocery stores, tailor shops, small noodle stalls, and even medical clinics. The Baichuan Medical Center is such a place that does not show off its beauty, but because the attending physician Lu Haodong has always been skilled and kind-hearted, it has a good reputation and considerable business operations. However, today the door of the medical clinic was tightly closed, with a sign saying, "Stop diagnosis for a day," hanging on. A familiar neighbor asked, and the young man only said that Lu Lang, a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, was difficult to self-treat. He accidentally fell ill from a cold. However, at this moment, Lu Haodong, who was supposed to rest in bed, sat in the secret room on the 2nd floor, touching his goatee and asked the woman next to the table, "Is he any better?" The woman was wearing an ordinary moon-white Chinese dress, with a navy blue coat and hair draped over her shoulders. Her body was thin and weak, and her face was pale. Despite her picturesque features, it seemed like smoke and sorrow. She sighed and said, "How could it be good? Although it's not the first time, sending her comrade on the road, oh, he's so suppressed." Lu Haodong understood that what the woman said was the truth, but as an underground/worker of the party, he had to bear the sharp knife that penetrated into the enemy's interior. So he said calmly, "Comrade Meng Ying, I can't meet him often. You are by his side because of work, but you must do his job well. This is also the task assigned to you by the organization." Not long ago, the party successfully entered the Kuomintang's Military Statistics Bureau for many years. Zheng Yaoxian, known as the Ghost Six in the martial arts world, was coerced by Yunong, a Gestapo, and personally executed the undercover Communist Party member Zheng Moi of the Military Statistics Bureau. This young and loyal female comrade endured torture and remained unyielding in order to send out the top-secret list of military statistics undercover agents in Yan'an. Making Lao Zheng, who had already had a deep blood feud with the party, even more passive and painful, personally send away his comrades, this heart-wrenching experience cannot be comforted by others. Meng Ying nodded without hesitation and said, "Comrade Lao Lu, don't worry, you gong. I secretly joined the party in 42 years, and cooperating with kites is my job. In private, Comrade Zheng Yaoxian rescued me from the clutches of the Japanese when I was most desperate, and I should also take care of him." Speaking slowly, but with an unquestionable frankness, it does not match her delicate image. This satisfied Lao Lu very much. Since the establishment of their group, he has been the organizer. Originally, there were 6 comrades scattered across various departments of the Kuomintang in Chongqing, and he has always been in contact with them on a single line. Except for Zheng Yaoxian and Meng Ying, who knew each other's identities for special reasons, everyone else strictly abided by confidentiality regulations, and even the superior leader Yunong did not know their true identities. However, due to several anti-communist climaxes, 3 comrades have already sacrificed themselves, and the remaining Zheng Yaoxian, Qing Zhener, and Meng Ying cannot keep each other confidential. Zheng and Cheng are both capable of intercepting important information. However, due to physical reasons, Meng Ying's most important task, besides providing cover for Jing Yaoxian, is to use medical treatment as a means of transmitting information from Lao Lu. After all, Jing Yaoxian, as the colonel and director of the Kuomintang Military Statistics Bureau, if he had nothing to do, he would have rushed to send them both to the King of Hell. This was originally a helpless thing, and what made old Lu Yu die even more was that during the work process, Jing Yaoxian and Qing Zhen'er had a romantic relationship, which was extremely frustrating. Not to mention the discipline of underground work, even on the surface, the Military Statistics Bureau and the Central Statistics Bureau are also known for their old age and lack of communication. Aren't you openly giving people a handle like this? For this reason, disregarding the feelings of the two parties involved, Lao Lu has applied to his superiors to transfer Qing Zhen'er, who was originally from northeast China, in preparation for taking over the 3 provinces in the east. Compared to these two restless downloaders, Lao Lu suddenly felt that the little girl Meng Ying was a good comrade who understood discipline. In order to solidify Jing Yaoxian's image of being unruly, she had been living in the Jing family since 3 years ago, which was equivalent to losing a girl's reputation. That's all. I haven't had any feelings for Mr. Jing Yao over the years and have completed his work very well. Even if Meng Ying made a request, it was still from a work perspective. Comrade Lu, I know you are in a difficult situation, but even if Lao Jing can withstand this hurdle in his heart, even if we all know that even without him, Zheng Moi, a good comrade, cannot be saved. But in the eyes of the guerrillas, he is already extremely wicked and can't even die a moment late. If Lao Jing dies in our own hands, not only will he be wronged, but we won't be able to find such a comrade with a steel knife again. Lao Lu was shocked and remembered the misunderstandings of some comrades and the inevitable launch of the anti-traitor campaign, which was also a dilemma caused by burning candles at both ends. However, what Xiao Meng said was also true. He hesitated for a while before finally speaking in his low Sichuan accent, "Comrade Xiaomeng, please rest assured that I cannot watch our good comrade die in vain, at least while I am alive. I will definitely find a way out on the guerrilla side. You and yourself must be careful." Meng Ying listened to his assurance, feeling weak and powerless, and was not disappointed in her heart. However, she was not familiar with Lao Lu to the point where she could complain casually. She could only say softly, "Of course I believe Comrade Lao Lu, and I hope you can make other comrades believe that the string of the kite is always in the hands of the party. He is even stronger than the military statistics, and that is also a knife for the enemy's heart that can penetrate deeper." Lu Haodong trembled and looked at Meng Ying's young and smooth face, which couldn't help but carry a hint of admiration. However, at this moment, there was suddenly some noise downstairs, and the two of them immediately became alert and took defensive positions. However, the young man then lifted the alarm and said, "Miss Cheng is here." As soon as she finished speaking, she heard a clattering sound of walking, and Qing Zhen'er hurriedly ran up. Although she was wearing a woolen professional suit and her hair was draped over her shoulders, she looked messy at the moment. Lao Lu calmed down first, then became extremely dissatisfied and sternly scolded, "You little child, do you know how dangerous it is to run over like this? Are you still a little vigilant?" Qing Zhen'er blushed and gasped for breath, finally taking a deep breath. Without considering anything else, she quickly said, "Old Lu, please go stop the comrades in the guerrilla forces. They want to kill old Zheng." "What are you saying?" Lu Haodong and Meng Ying almost spoke in unison. "Really, I just intercepted a telegram from the central radio station. The guerrilla team is preparing to rob and kill him on his way to the Dai Mansion in Shenxian Cave at 9 p.m. tonight. The address and telegram are both correct." Qing Zhen'er was very anxious and spoke quickly. Qing Zhen'er is a true lover, and Meng Ying is a fake couple. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Splashing Warning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Splashing Warning. Meng Ying is weak and conscious of causing trouble for others, so sometimes she is the most considerate. She immediately poured a glass of water for Qing Zhen'er and said softly, "Sister Cheng, please slow down and explain the situation carefully so that Comrade Lao Lu can also talk to other comrades. Among underground workers, there are too many people who pretend to be husband and wife, and there are also many who pretend to be true, but she is not included. So for Xiangyi, she doesn't have a sense of being a rival in love. Or rather, the raging war and the torment of life and death have destroyed the health, even normal love and emotions of this young girl. Lao Lu is actually very anxious and has already arranged for the young man to contact Secretary Yuan and Captain Meng through special channels. Although he often jumps and scolds Xiangyi for being even better than the military statistics, when he is extremely angry, the comradeship he has supported through years of walking in the demon cave is truly not fake. At this moment, the old and sturdy self-ringing bell in the room rang, and the three of them unconsciously shifted their gaze. It turned out to be 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Xiangyi thought to herself, anyway, we have already arranged to meet at 5 p.m. this afternoon. If we don't go to Dai Mansion again, I'll tell Xiangyi not to go. So she calmed down and said, today at noon, Miss AI from the Central Bureau of Statistics and I were walking on the street. Wait, you said you had just scheduled an afternoon meeting with Xiangyi, and you intercepted this intelligence around 1 o'clock, and then you hurriedly left work. As an old intelligence source, Lao Lu immediately smelled a hint of conspiracy. Meng Ying also realized, today is not a weekend, and everyone knows it's the day when the Military Intelligence Bureau kills people. Why does Amy insist on taking you out for shopping, afraid that old Jing won't be able to find you? Xiangyi was taken aback and suddenly saw the afterglow falling right next to Meng Ying's face, making her originally pale face like a glow, further highlighting her delicate facial features and youthful youth. An inexplicable tingling of sourness. In fact, it can't be considered unfounded. Since Xiangyi brought Meng Ying back home as a distant cousin 3 years ago, the entire Chongqing intelligence agency has assumed that she is Xiangyi's cousin. However, due to Dai Li's 3 no's family rules set by the Military Statistics Bureau, she has not been officially recognized for the time being. As far as she knows, the group of military intelligence thugs under Xiangyi have already been called sister.in.law in private. But in that moment, the quality of a communist intelligence officer pulled her back to reality. Looking back on today's experience, she felt even more uneasy and murmured, since they suspect me, then old Zheng is even more dangerous. Comrade Meng, can you contact Xiangyi first? Please don't go to the restaurant, it's not safe. Meng Ying said helplessly, how can I contact him? No, I can contact him. Sister Cheng, where did you meet up? Xiangyi told her the name of the restaurant and asked, what's wrong? You're right, they're suspicious of you. You can't go to the restaurant again, otherwise you're all in danger. But since the Central Intelligence Bureau knows that they're going to attack old Jing at night, he's bound to resort to violence, so he should be safe around 5 o'clock. I'll go to the restaurant and tell him all about it. Among the 3, she calmly recognized a crucial point. What, can't we find it? Lao Lu's connection failed and he became anxious. However, seeing that the 2 offline analysts were reasonable, he felt a little relieved. He first said to them, I support Comrade Xiaomeng's opinion. Comrade Xiaomeng, after you go, you can pretend to be jealous and fight with Lao Zheng, and pass on information while others are not prepared. I will continue to contact the guerrillas. And you? Lu Haodong looked at Xiangyi and said solemnly, you have already been exposed. Don't go back and die for nothing. Wait a moment, I will arrange a secret channel to send you to the liberated areas. With a loud bang, the red wine in the tall glass landed accurately. Zheng Yaoxin's suit, sitting by the window, immediately became a postmodern art piece. The atmosphere in the Rose restaurant was so tense that even the foreigners playing Western instruments on the side paused in shock. Almost everyone's gaze is focused on this young man and woman, indicating the deep genes of the Chinese people in watching the excitement. Zheng Yaoxian reacted and knew something must have happened. He stood up and cursed, you losers, why are you going crazy? If you want to lose yourself at home, don't even see where this is. What he said was not angry or despairing, but it gave people a fierce feeling. There is also a backing behind this high-end restaurant, but in the face of senior agents, try not to provoke them as much as possible, otherwise their behavior would have been invited out by the waiters long ago. Where is it? The place where you're dating that radio slut. Xiangyi, you're shameless. Even if you're having fun, won't you go to the Immortal Music Hall? If you insist on getting along with people from the Central Intelligence Bureau, it's also embarrassing for you. Why don't you find a hole to go through? Why don't you still want to hit me, kill me? You can fight. Meng Ying spoke excitedly, with tears in her eyes. Due to her frailty, she lacked confidence even when she said something unpleasant. If it weren't for the fact that everyone in the restaurant had just seen her spilling alcohol on people, they would have thought she was the one who was completely bullied. Zheng Yaoxian, on the other hand, looked extremely angry as he pulled her out and said, I don't hit women except for the Communist Party. But no one noticed, and his extremely handsome eyebrows furrowed in an instant. Because Meng Ying clearly told him in their group's special language, Jian. Someone in the immortal cave wants to kill you. Zheng Yaoxian's counter-questioning was also proven by Meng Ying's 3 blinks, indicating that it was someone within the party who wanted to take action. Ignoring the sadness in his heart, Zheng Yaoxian had already pulled Meng Ying out of the room, taking advantage of the momentary surveillance blind spot, and asked her in English, where is electricity? Meng Ying shouted, don't pull me, I can walk on my own. At the same time, she quickly wrote 2 words on Zheng Yaoxian's broad hand, evacuate. Handsome men and beautiful women, there was a lot of noise on the street, and passers-by stopped. The plainclothes sent by the Central Committee were also stunned. Unexpectedly, Cheng Zhen'er didn't wait, but instead, it was the Empress of the Palace of Gizi 6 who started the commotion. That's right, although Zheng Yaoxian's file clearly stated that he was unmarried, it was also because of Dai Yunong's strange family rules. In the minds of people at that time, Meng Ying, who could take charge of household chores, was already his wife. After all, Zheng Yaoxian is also in his 30s. If someone of this level and age in the Military Statistics Bureau had not married before the anti-Japanese war, there would have been such an inner shopkeeper in his family. Unexpectedly, Zheng Yaoxian recognized them and politely greeted them, saying, who is that? Find a car and take my family to the Military Intelligence Office in Heping Hutong. Let Officer Song watch over her for me. I have official business at night, so I'll go pick her up when I'm done. Those plainclothes were even more confused. They knew they were crazy about military intelligence, and they had always been overwhelming their own side, but they were so crazy that they were caught on the street for the first time. But I dare not refuse yet. Where is Zheng Yaoxian's official title? If the 2 commanders continue to argue, if you dare not help with such a small matter, it will be a lack of official. But he was taken aback for a moment, and Zheng Yaoxian was already unhappy. What's wrong? I can't command you anymore. Should I personally call your high-ranking officer? No one dared to talk back in plain clothes. He obediently went up and invited Meng Ying to the car, without any ill intentions, and sent her to the ground. It's also not possible. Zheng Yaoxian asked someone to escort his fiancée AE in public. If there were any accidents, it wouldn't be possible. The 2 families are likely to merge, and Zhongtong is definitely the losing side. New article seeking attention, end of this chapter. Chapter 3. 6 Brothers in Danger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. 6 Brothers in Danger. Meng Ying, sitting in the car, was extremely nervous and her heart could hardly bear it. She had already told Zheng Yaoxian all the dangers, but his words just now indicated that he would still go to the Dai mansion in the Immortal Cave. Zheng Yaoxian's ghostly mind might have come up with some kind of compromise, but why did she feel so anxious and uneasy? The danger seemed to be pressing like a physical object. After 1938, she rarely had such a strong sense of crisis. Meng Ying knew that this was an intuition of her own body, and during her 3 years in the Japanese war zone, she survived by relying on this intuition. With these questions in mind, when Meng Ying was taken to the intelligence office, she still had a serious expression on her face. She used to be a thin and beautiful woman, with a face that was always unattractive but still gentle. Seeing her today, Song Shaoan felt that women must still be jealous. As a man, he also felt that Meng Ying's incident was annoying. It was strange for a man to play outside his home, and it was just a small intestine to make a fuss in public. But if you think so, Meng Ying is after all the woman of Six Brother. Six Brother sent someone over to look at her, and it was obvious that he was still thinking about it. The matter of the couple was not just an outsider's involvement. She only wanted people to eat and drink well, and quickly ran out on the pretext of something to prevent her from crying and complaining to herself. As a result, his intelligence director also made mistakes in his analysis. But within an hour, a subordinate reported back and forth, "Director, there's something wrong with that person in Brother Six's room." Song Shaoan then looked up from the document and scolded, shouting, "Call me sister.in.law. Although Meng Ying is only 19 years old this year, the rules are the rules and cannot be chaotic." Then he asked, "What's wrong? Did we start arguing?" "No, Sister Lu didn't eat or drink, and our female receptionist didn't say anything when she asked. She just said she wasn't feeling well." Song Shaoan was taken aback for a moment, then suddenly remembered the person who was said to be in poor health. He couldn't help but become anxious and scolded, "Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? Hurry up, take your sister.in.law to the hospital. There's one thing that needs to be said." However, Sister Lu refused to move and said she needs stability. "She asked us to go buy medicine. What are you still waiting for? Hurry up and go buy it. Also, bring me the doctor from our department and I'll go see my sister.in.law." Upon arriving at the reception room, Meng Ying's condition was indeed very poor. She was already lying on the marching bed, and even breathing was difficult from a distance. She was still conscious, didn't she know? A female doctor next to him is auscultating. Song Shaoan avoided suspicion and dared not approach, but felt bitter in his heart, secretly blaming himself. Lu Gu entrusted him with someone, which was trust. How could he avoid trouble? If something happens, how can I explain it myself? Fortunately, someone had already bought the medicine Meng Ying needed by this time. The female doctor checked it and said, "The medicine is very effective. Madam, your heart and lung problems are already very serious. Personally, I suggest that you be hospitalized for treatment." Meng Ying said, "Thank you," and sat up under the waiter's service to take medicine. The female doctor left some medical advice and also left. Song Shaoan just walked in and said anxiously, "Sister-in-law, it's all brother negligence that hasn't taken care of you. I'll send someone to take you to the hospital. I'll report it to Brother Six." "Officer Song, you're too polite. This is the problem I left behind when I was hit by a stray bullet during the August 13th bombing. The doctor of the Red Cross said at the time that this kind of injury is lifelong. It happens from time to time, and Yao knows my situation. At that time, my third brother was still there, and he advised him not to look for me as his mother.in.law." Meng Ying calmly recounted, as if it wasn't her fault. Song Shaoan was momentarily embarrassed and didn't know how to make a conversation. "I don't want to argue with Yao Xian either. I regretted it just now. With just my body, I don't know how many more years I can stay with him. There's something I can't bear. It's really not right. Outsiders say that in front of your military intelligence bureau, the Central Intelligence Bureau is like a sister.in.law. But today, I first heard a woman from the Central Intelligence Bureau ridicule me, and later I was sent over by the Central Intelligence Bureau's special team. I embarrassed Yao Xian and you." Meng Ying spoke with a hint of melancholy, but her expression was natural, and anyone who heard it would think it was a confession from a virtuous wife. After all, Song Shaoan had a background in professional intelligence. A certain nerve in his body became alert and asked, "Sister-in-law, you just said that Lu Gu met a woman from the Central Intelligence Bureau, and there were also Central Intelligence Bureau plainclothes at the meeting place." "Yes. Sister-in-law, please rest well. I need to go talk to Brother Lu about something." Song Shaoan's face calmed down, but his brain started to run at high speed. Meng Ying agreed and lay down, taking advantage of the situation. The medicine seemed to work, making her breathing gradually smoother. She didn't want to directly tell Song Shaoan that there was an ambush at Dai Gongguan in the Shenzhen cave, but her cooperation with Zheng Yaoxian over the years made him deeply admire the handling ability of this ace spy. She was afraid that if she spoke rashly, she would not only be treated as a woman and jealous by others, but also more likely to ruin Zheng Yaoxian's arrangement. Fortunately, over the years, Zheng Yaoxian has occasionally taught her some methods of struggle in order to cultivate her professional abilities, telling her how to protect the organization and herself under the influence of various forces. Because although she was unwilling, she still pretended to be a man's favorite, aggrieved magnanimity, and conveyed the message to Song Shaoan that Zheng Yaoxian might be assassinated by the Central Committee. Fortunately, Song Shaoan's brain did not disappoint her. Now quiet down, she began to consider this matter according to Zheng Yaoxian's train of thought. Firstly, Zheng Yao is going to meet Dai Li, which must be a secret that even Song Shaoan and others would not know. But the party's guerrilla forces were prepared to know the time and location, and even organized an assassination attempt. Meng Ying shook again. By the way, this is a key factor. In the past, Zheng Yaoxian once said that agents like Dai Li usually convey instructions to their subordinates through the Secretariat Department when meeting with them. So it can be inferred that within the Military Statistics Bureau, there is old Zheng, besides the unfortunate deceased Zheng Moi, there are other party comrades, and this comrade is in the Secretariat Department. But why does Brother Lu know there is an ambush and still have to go? As the closest person to Zheng Yaoxian, even though she was considered a child, she inevitably noticed the most painful aspect of this ace spy. Fighting with his roommates. If there is a direct conflict near the Shenzhen cave, the guerrilla forces of old Zheng He will inevitably suffer damage to one side, and may even lose both sides. This clearly refers to the intentions of those in the Central Intelligence Bureau, and even some within the Military Intelligence Bureau. Zheng Yaoxian's mind could not have imagined this, so why is he? It is said that after the incident involving Zheng Moi, Zheng Yaoxian was suspected of being on the list of military intelligence undercover agents who were stolen. Although Zheng Moi has gone now, Meng Ying is not sure if Dai Yunong will doubt Zheng Yaoxian in his heart re-audit. Please help. End of this chapter. 4. Chapter 4 System Launch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 System Launch. Meng Ying was feeling a mess about to clear her mind when she suddenly heard a commotion outside. And as the voice grew louder and louder, Meng Ying's heart was filled with ominous thoughts, and a voice that had not appeared for many years suddenly sounded in her ear. Host, the Spy Battle Storm mission is underway. Zheng Yaoxian has been ambushed by the Chinese/Communist guerrilla forces and his life is in danger. It's time for you to appear. Upon hearing this voice, Meng Ying's years of coldness almost collapsed in one fell swoop, revealing her true colors in an instant. She almost roared, "Your sister, there hasn't been any movement in these years. Now she just told me what mission she has. What's wrong with Lao Zheng?" In the system where her thoughts were stored, she could hardly withstand such strong emotional fluctuations and trembled, saying, "Host, calm down. Zheng Yaoxian is okay, he is the main character. If he dies, the plot will fail." According to the original plot of No War in Beiping, Fang Menjing herself had already died in the 1937 bombing, and in fact, this little girl was indeed gone. But you pulled me over. As a modern person living well in a happy, beautiful, and peaceful development of the new China, I have come to this period of war where people are not as good as dogs, and it was originally a Japanese war zone. You must give me an explanation today, otherwise get lost on your mission. Meng Ying's emotions exploded over the years, and her firepower was fully unleashed. Host, your current state doesn't match your original personality, the system answered with a guilty heart. When she asked before, although she was also angry and frustrated, at that time in the midst of the dire situation in the Japanese war zone, the host himself was even more afraid of life than death in order to live, and he dared not tear his face from it. However, today it is obvious that he is confident and fearless. Is it okay for me to have this kind of personality originally? Fang Menjing's memory and style have always been there, and I have a dual personality for so many years. Don't shift the topic, say it or not, don't fool me with my past and present lives. My appearance and personality don't match, even the time of reincarnation is not right. Host, don't get excited yet. After all, it wasn't me who summoned you. Alright, I'll tell you, if you get too excited, I'll be ruined and you won't get the answer you want. More importantly, you'll face Dai Yunong and other people alone as Fang Menjing, engaging in dangerous espionage work. The system said quickly, no matter what, I can occasionally add background to the mind-reading technique, you know. It's just waste wood. I wish I could use it for 2 months at a time, Meng Ying said. After listening to it, this broken system is still useful. However, useless firewood, where have you been all these years? After she arrived at Zheng Yaoxian's side from the frontline hospital at the end of 1942, this useless person disappeared and could not be summoned no matter how focused her thoughts were. For several years now, she has gone from disappointment to despair. People who are used to golden fingers suddenly have to rely on themselves. Do you know how hurt it is? Host, you have raised 2 questions in total. Which one should I answer first? And you will wake up in the hospital in 5 minutes, and Dai Li will also be there soon. He will know about your behavior today, and Cheng Zhener has successfully transferred. He cannot not doubt you or Zheng Yaoxian. 5 minutes. It's not you waiting, that's Agent Wang Daili. Can you make me wake up a little late? No, first of all, it's you who's been in a coma for a long time and suffered losses. Secondly, you quickly passed the level of Daili and had to do something big before dawn. This achievement is not only a great merit, but also can earn many points and enhance the plot. Then come on, let's talk about the second one. Fang Menjing said with resentment, thinking that this deceitful system must have taken advantage of her pragmatism. It's obvious that adapting to the environment and solving problems are more important than holding accountable. My full name is Excellent Domestic TV Plot Sorting System. The system is designed to do tasks and accumulate points. However, as the host, in the past few years, you were in a growth period and your points couldn't make ends meet, so I became weaker and weaker. Later, you successfully entered the kite system. This TV series was set to start the main plot in the spring of 46, which is now, so I just had to hibernate before. Don't be angry either. Think about it. Last time you had to go out of your way to rescue Fang Mengwei, I overdrawn my points and went to sleep. Sigh, host, you almost couldn't see me. Fang Menjing remained calm and said, I haven't seen you either. You've been nagging in my ear all along. Fang Mengwei was only 18 years old that year, and when he received the erroneous news that his elder brother Fang Mengao had died in battle, he couldn't accept it. In a moment of anger, he ran out of the city to join the army on the front line. At that time, it was the toughest time of the anti-Japanese war, and the Fang family did not find him immediately. Instead, Meng Ying, who worked as a nurse in the battlefield, saw him. After many years, the original emotions had once been so strong. Meng Ying appeared so cold on the surface, but her heart was intertwined with love and hate for her family. Faced with danger, she only wants to save people. What can she do as a person borrowing someone else's body? She can only use the system to let the military officials happen to discover Fang Mengwei, who has been knocked unconscious by the artillery fire. System. Suddenly, I miss her another important personality, the icy and cool Fong Menjing. If it weren't for you just now, I would have understood why Jing Yaoxian had to go to Dai Mansion. Now you can tell me the standard answer. Fong Menjing clearly felt the heat inside the dantian and knew she was about to wake up, so she asked quickly. Okay, host, your idea is very correct. Jing Yaoxian was assassinated because there was a member of the Central/Communist Underground Party called Jiang Xian in the Military Statistics Secretariat. After receiving this news, she notified the guerrilla forces, but she didn't know that she had already been discovered by Dai Li. She deliberately borrowed her hand to test Jing Yaoxian again. The system quickly said, Jing Yaoxian is smarter than you. He immediately understood that if he doesn't go, it proves that he has a communist/party background, and the avalanche effect produced is not something that you people can afford. The system finally started explaining normally, but it scared Fong Menjing out of a cold sweat. She once again realized the danger of her situation, even though she had never dared to underestimate Dai Li. Suddenly, another voice rang in her ear, oh, my sister.in.law hasn't woken up yet. Yes, the bureau asked. Mengying became anxious and quickly chased the system, asking, speak up quickly. What will Dai Li ask me later? How should I answer? The system said, it's too late, just remember not to fool him, try to be logical. Later on, it became weaker and harder to hear. Mengying's heart was burning with fire, and she wanted to continue asking questions, but at this moment it was like falling into a nightmare, and she didn't say a word no matter what. But soon, she opened her eyes and saw a white world, indeed in the hospital. Sister-in-law, you're awake. Hurry up and report to the bureau seat. Fong Menjing hadn't seen the person clearly before she saw someone running away in plain clothes. Fortunately, there were others around her. She ordered a cup of hot water, felt the warmth in her stomach, and slowly ordered herself to calm down. She asked, how is Jing Yaoxian doing? I want to go see him. The members of the Military Statistics Bureau next to her clearly didn't know how to answer. Coincidentally, the arrival of an officer helped her clarify her confusion. Sister-in-law, don't worry, Lao Lu is a bit seriously injured, but he is now out of danger to his life. Before Mengying could catch her breath, she heard him say, the bureau is here, he wants to see you. Seeking recommended tickets and collections, end of this chapter. Chapter 5. Bureau Seat Dai Yunong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Bureau Seat Dai Yunong. When Mengying saw the legendary boss Dai, she had already forced herself to recover some of her state. This is not really relying on a golden finger, but the pressure of survival over the years. On the first day of her journey, Mengying was forced to understand that this world does not give weak people any chance. She followed the strong call from her original heart and struggled desperately to catch a glimpse of her mother's corpse after being rescued from the bombing zone. And in response to Fong Menjing, it was Jing Yaoxian's anxious slap. At that time, the sixth brother of the Military Statistics Bureau was no longer as experienced as he was later. He asked with red eyes, damn it, I finally dug you out of the pile of dead people just to get you bombed again. What are you staring at me for? Don't play with those big ladies' temperaments, if you still want to live. The white doctor with a scruffy beard on the side shouted, oh my, you barbarian, how could you treat my patient like this? Didn't you see that, such a young child, damn fascism. Then they started arguing. And when the system went live for the first time, she whispered in her ear, hello host, don't be too sad, try to adapt to this society as much as possible. Hee, in the society of 1937, mountains and rivers were shattered, and people were devastated. What's even sadder is that this is just the beginning. The past is like smoke, but reality remains cruel. Dai Yunong sat at his desk and waited for Mengying to sit down before having someone pour her a glass of water. He gently said, Xiao Meng, you're scared. Why don't you speak? With a strong Zhejiang accent and the care of elders, if it weren't for Meng Ying's years of education from the party in her previous life and the fact that she has had too many side encounters with Zheng Yaoxian in this life, I would have been moved by him. Indeed, life is like a play, relying entirely on acting skills. The director spoke too seriously. I'm just worried about Chief Zheng. When my concubine was not clear, she didn't dare to make an intimate marital statement in front of him. Sure enough, Dai Yunong didn't show any signs on his face, but remained satisfied in his heart. He said more kindly, "All right, you are a conscientious child." After a pause, he said, "During the period of resistance against Japan and national salvation, I set rules for my brothers. Gugwa can't care about his family. Now that the war has won, it's not good to let you girls from good families suffer anymore." Although Lao Lu was hit in the trachea this time, he managed to save him in time. When he recovers, your marriage should also be prepared. The more his words turn into spring breeze and rain, the more Meng Ying trembles with fear. Zheng Yaoxian once said that Dai Li might even smile at you the day before and hold hands with you as brothers. Perhaps overnight, he secretly summoned his subordinates and gritted his teeth to issue a secret killing order against you. But at Zheng Yaoxian's level and level of military achievements, she can still compromise and protect herself. If an underground party at her level were to be exposed, not to mention lacking the ability to fight back, she would definitely implicate Lao Zheng and Lao Lu. Fortunately, she really ran away. By the way, she as if a spring thunder exploded in this spring day, Meng Ying's mind suddenly flashed with a bright light. Although she was not yet confident, she dared to try and say, "There is no place for us women to talk about this kind of thing. I am not afraid of being laughed at by the boss. I am afraid that if the sixth brother gets along well, he will first sweep me out of the house." Dai Yunong was so surprised that she would say this. After watching her for a while, Meng Ying felt uneasy and kept recalling the information she knew. The scrap system had vaguely mentioned it, and Dai Yunong's mind was very clear. He also has a set of tricks for his subordinates. If this person is useful, Boss Dai will never hesitate to have women, money, or power. Of course, the choice between them is up to this person to make. Besides, he is a very difficult person to fool. So, I must not pretend to be smart. No matter what I think, Dai Yunong would not bother with such a small person like me, especially since her identity as a legitimate member of the Fong family has not been exposed. Therefore, when labor agent Wang inquires, it can only be because of her relationship with Zheng Yaoxian, or more specifically, because in the ambush of Zheng Yaoxian by the underground armed forces this time, her figure was elusive. Meng Ying was holding on to a wide cloth and lotus leaf skirt with delicate hands, her mind rapidly thinking, sometimes clear and sometimes without a clue. At this moment, Dai Yunong also spoke up, still smiling and saying, "Xiao Meng, you're just being angry. Young man, it's okay to argue when you get angry. My brother, I understand that Lao Lu is not such a small-bellied person. Besides, thanks to you, if Shaolin can't arrive in time, his life will really be taken care of." Coming, Meng Ying sounded an alarm in her heart and saw Dai Li fall into silence again. Under the orange light, Meng Ying quietly looked up and could only see his dimly round face. She knew it was a psychological battle, waiting for the other party to take the initiative or undoubtedly reveal key information, unable to withstand the pressure. Meng Ying smiled bitterly in her heart. She had only learned these theories before. The first time she put them into practice, she was faced with a rival at the level of Dai Yunong. It was really a matter of fate. Host, you're amazing. The system suddenly went online, and for Meng Ying, it was almost like a drop in the sky. She asked overjoyedly, "Thank goodness, teach me how to say it quickly." The system said intermittently, "You have the right idea, I cannot directly command you to respond. The current situation is that the Military Intelligence Bureau has already obtained intelligence on the Central Intelligence Bureau's use of Chinese/Communist guerrilla forces to snipe Zheng Yaoxian, and because of your report, Song Shaoan has captured several plainclothes of the Central Intelligence Bureau, both human and stolen. Dai Yunong, you have already suspected that you have discovered the behavior of the Central Intelligence Bureau. As he spoke, he became increasingly vague and surprisingly lost his voice. Meng Ying was so angry that she almost wanted to curse out loud, but had to take into account the current situation. She could only comfort herself that this useless piece of trash had finally provided her with some useful information. As soon as she calmed down, she said in a deep voice, "Please forgive me, Director." In fact, Meng Ying knew that the Central Intelligence Bureau was going to be unfavorable to Brother Six and couldn't save face, so she tactfully told Officer Song what was important. "However, I didn't expect that the Central Intelligence Bureau would be so ruthless in dealing with colleagues from the party and the country. Otherwise, I would have to stop Brother Six if I really didn't want me." In opposition, Xiangyi did not tell her. She was ambushed on the way to the Dai mansion in the Immortal Cave, so she naturally had no idea. Dai Yunong became increasingly surprised and stopped using questioning methods. He directly asked, "Oh, do you know about the actions of those one-place waste targeting Lao Lu? So I have to ask you, what is the source of this information?" In industry slang, one refers to the Central Statistics Department and the other refers to the Military Statistics Department. Meng Ying let out a sigh and spoke up with frustration, "After all, I haven't officially married sixth brother, so sometimes I feel a bit uncertain. Although I dare not control sixth brother, I am inevitably too concerned about his whereabouts. That person surnamed Cheng is very shameless. When I went to find her, she told me some unpleasant things. I was so angry at first, but she said, 'Be careful not to be a widow.' But it made me feel wrong. After all, sixth brother has been with her for a long time, and he is generous in his actions." When she said these words, she was full of ridicule, not like there was any hint of affection. Later, at the Rose restaurant, I saw a lot more. The people from the Central Military Statistics Brigade feel even more wrong. She followed her train of thought and slowly said these words. Now she can only gamble that Qing Zhener has successfully arrived in the liberated areas. This matter is completely unfounded, and it's also a bet that Jing Yaoxian is still useful to the Military Statistics Bureau, and Dai Yunong will still use him. Ding, successfully completed the first step of the plot and earned 100 points. After deducting the advance payment, the remaining points were 80. With a crisp voice ringing in her ear, Meng Ying finally breathed a sigh of relief. She won, and to some extent, Jing Yaoxian also won. Requesting comments and recommending tickets. Director Dai, who is too awesome, dare not write more. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Preventing Tragedy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Preventing Tragedy. Host, calm down. In the dream, Meng Ying, who had completely placed the outer shell of Meng Ying below, was full of evil fire, using emotional fluctuations to vigorously stir up this broken system. This is no waste, it's just a broken car. At critical moments, it will drop the chain. Faced with Dai Li, it dares to play flashback with itself. Intentionally making her nervous and dying young, right? I don't know if there was a reason for some integration, but the system showed no signs of disappearing this time. However, it was obvious that they didn't dare to take it for granted and begged, "Host, I beg you. Can you stop for a minute and let me explain?" Meng Ying was stunned for a moment, regardless of whether she agreed or not, then he said, "Host, you may not be able to watch websites like X.Point and Jingjiang. Nowadays, there are many books, movies, and TV dramas, but the reliance on the system is too severe. However, our system is based on brain waves. Time is strong and time is weak, and sometimes short disconnections can lead to tragic main quests. Those hosts can't go back and forth from now on, hold resentment, and complain when they reach the underworld. The civil servants in the local government are very annoyed, and they have given us a warning in the system that self-reliance is a universal value of humanity. Therefore, when we need to develop our tasks again, we must position ourselves in a subordinate position, gradually let the host adapt to the existing environment, and then retreat to the second line. We cannot let the host cannot do without crutches. Meng Ying's face turned cold and emphasized, it's already over a minute. Thank you, I'm not so easily led astray. Okay, host, you don't mind being a minor player. Just think about it, as an assist, my main task is to act as a god's perspective to provide you with information or make some analysis. The music I teach you can't sing. If I teach you how to say and do it in any tense situation, won't you become my puppet? Besides, what would you do if the above situation occurs? In this cross time and space, and because your points are always on credit, this is not sensationalism, my host. Besides, think about it. Over the years, you've been learning and handling affairs on your own. Have you become more and more adept? Otherwise, you wouldn't have been fooled by Dai Li. The system is like a little cabbage. Alas, strength determines the right to speak, and if you can't help yourself, you naturally have to hold your tail and become a system. Seeing its good attitude and sincere language, Meng Ying's heart calmed slightly. The system finally lost the pain of being stuck in the neck and said with a tearful tone, Host, all this fuss has caused my points to drop by 20 again. Please calm your emotions and let's quickly talk about the next task. It will start soon. Meng Ying was almost blown up. You haven't finished it yet. You haven't told me which king/8 lambs/son brought me here, and why. You haven't told me about the situation of Lao Lu and Jenaire. More importantly, I just saw that the Gestapo person was empty, and you actually want to pull me as a laborer. Dream it, you. If you don't listen to me anymore, there will be more than 20 ordinary people who will become ghosts. Scrap Chai also had a temper and mustered up the courage to shout out this sentence. Fortunately, Meng Ying was really scared by it. The system took the opportunity and quickly said, Cheng Zhener, as the key figure who Jing Yaoxian was assassinated, has already left. Zhongtong has come to refuse to admit it, and he still needs to take back the few plain clothes he caught yesterday. Otherwise, you would think Dai Yunong would let you go so easily. That would be busy saying hello to a Ken and arguing. This information is so explosive that Meng Ying forgot to force others and quickly asked, how could it be like this? Isn't everyone saying that the Central Intelligence Bureau sees the Military Intelligence Bureau like an ant? Host, you are too naive. There is no such thing as simplicity within the nationalist/party. However, there are many people in the Military Statistics Bureau who are holding their breath because of this matter, such as Zhao Jianji, the chief of operations under Jing Yaoxian. In a fit of anger, he arrested more than 20 cartmen and small traders, preparing to be executed together at the military statistics execution ground at 7 o'clock, as a warning to the public. That's why I said this task must be done. The system speaks quickly, but anyone who hears it cannot feel the weight involved. This is a chaotic world, human life is like grass. Alright, wake me up quickly and I'll stop him. When Fong Menjing woke up, it was almost 5:45 o'clock. The caregiver saw that she still looked weak and advised, Madam, please rest for a while. Officer Zheng just talked to Officer Su for a while and has already fallen asleep. Meng Ying nodded and asked, how has he recovered? Do he need to be hospitalized? The caregiver seems to have heard a big joke that this person has been pierced by bullets, how could they not be hospitalized? Meng Ying said, could you please invite a brother from the Military Statistics Bureau? I have to take a car back and bring some clothes for my husband. This kind of natural requirement, the people of the Military Statistics Bureau naturally have no intention of opposing it. Song Shaoan personally found people and cars to escort him, which was very respectful. After yesterday's thrill, he truly felt that this sixth sister.in.law was capable. Previously, although the brothers dared not comment on Lu Ji's marriage, they couldn't help but feel in their private hearts that a frail orphan girl was not a good match. Although she was also considered a beautiful woman, she was much more beautiful than her. Now it seems that sixth brother is sixth brother, and these people are too superficial. Meng Ying naturally didn't know what he was thinking. She was now filled with over 20 innocent lives. In her previous life, Meng Ying was just an ordinary northern girl. She was born in a peaceful era, with a small wealthy family but no economic freedom. The biggest thing she experienced in 22 years was not doing well in her college entrance examination, and she went to the provincial normal school with a score of 600. And once traveling, what one sees is the human purgatory of being enslaved and slaughtered by foreign races. Originally, she was a wealthy little princess who was favored by her parents and siblings at home. However, overnight, her father placed the entire family under bombing in order to transfer the control of the Song family's property. Her mother chose to sacrifice her and her daughter in order to let her two brothers leave first, but then protected her with her body when the bomb hit. But that's how this 11-year-old girl also left this shattered world of her homeland under the dual impact of psychological and physical trauma. And it was only in that dilapidated small clinic that Fang Menjing, who later became her, realized how happy she used to be, and she didn't actually feel it. Later on the streets of Shanghai, every day she couldn't see the civilians who died in vain. She had to listen to the system and deceive herself that this was a world of TV dramas, in order to suppress her inner madness and even want to die with those thugs. But in fact, she was extremely clear that in real history, all of this had actually happened, but at that time, New China still had mountains and rivers, and the country was peaceful and the people were safe. So, when Dr. Bailey noticed her calmness and asked if she wanted to join the Communist Party, Meng Ying agreed without hesitation. If it weren't for fear of scaring this Italian devilish, she would have wished she could recite a communist manifesto for him. At that moment, her conviction came not only from her experience growing up under the red flag, but also from feeling that only communism/righteousness could save China, and understanding why the martyrs brought their own dry food and risked their lives to carry out the revolution. Because they want a new China and don't want to be second-class citizens forever. Back then, she didn't have the ability, but today she wants to save these innocent lives no matter what. That's the hope of many families. Some things about Kuomintang spies are indeed excessive. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Su Baichuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Su Baichuan. Meng Ying told the driver that Jing Yaoxian had something in the office of the military statistics headquarters and he wanted to go and get it for him. The driver didn't suspect he was there and drove there. But when passing by the square, she had to take a detour. Meng Ying couldn't agree and pulled down her face to ask, "Why, Brother Lu is just sick, so you intentionally neglect me?" The driver didn't dare to take this hat. He quickly apologized and said he didn't, because Officer Zhao was killing people inside, afraid that his sister-in-law wouldn't be able to withstand the smell of blood. Meng Ying asked for this excuse and immediately changed her color, saying, "What is Zhao Xiangyi doing? Lu Jiyi's injuries have not healed yet. Isn't he cursing Yao Xian for killing innocent people like this?" Without waiting for the driver to react, she quickly opened the car door and ran towards the square. Before entering, she heard Zhao Jianji shouting in her broken gong voice, "Damn it or not, listen carefully. I'm just going to kill chickens and warn monkeys, see who dares to touch my Lu Gu." At a critical moment, Meng Ying couldn't control her usual calmness anymore. She quickly ran in and shouted, "Zhao Jianji, stop it for me. You're still not the brother of Brother Six. Do you want to kill him?" Zhao Jianji, who was full of murderous intent, suddenly froze. "I know you don't agree with me, but Brother Lu has just escaped danger and we haven't had time to pray for his blessings yet. You actually want to kill someone. If this is the remnants of the Japanese puppet regime or hostile forces, I won't stop you. But as you said, most of these people are ordinary people. I know you're upset about the matter with the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, but when you think about it, the national/civil affairs/government is about to return the capital to Nanjing, and key officials are all hoping for a smooth transition. At this time, you are indiscriminately killing innocent people. Are you really worried that the Democratic parties won't have anything to say to the president? Who can take advantage of the situation with the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China? If the danger of your sixth brother is not lifted, you should have thrown yourself into it first. I know you think I'm inexperienced, but if you're not satisfied, why don't you wait? Sixth brother has already woken up, and I don't believe he agrees with you to kill like this. My man, I know, is not someone who can easily kill enemies, but he's not someone who can itch without killing. If you provoke Yao Xian, I'll see who the brothers of the military statistics can bypass you. What else can Zhao Jianji do when facing the sudden and incessant chatter of his sixth sister? In law, besides imprisoning the person first? To be honest, in his heart, he was actually even less optimistic about Meng Ying than Song Shaoan. However, judging from her performance last night, his team leader was completely ashamed. It seems that Lu Gu was wise to send her to study. The sister. In law's every sentence seems to be like he's giving Lu Gu a blessing if he doesn't let anyone go. To be honest, Zhao Jianji has been licking blood with his knife for so many years and is not afraid. But who wants to be related to Lu Gu, would rather believe in his existence than believe in his absence. After solving this matter, Meng Ying was exhausted both physically and mentally. She hurriedly went to Zheng Yaoxian's office to get a few shirts and then returned to the hospital. Listening to the system chattering in the car, "Host, you're amazing. The feeling of saving lives is really good, and your points have suddenly increased by 200. Meng Ying wants to say thank you, this time I'm not really for those points. But I also don't want to talk nonsense to this useless and greedy system. I was about to close my eyes and rest for a while, but I didn't expect the system to continue nagging. Host, in a while you will meet a person with a square face and a straight head wearing a long shirt called Gong Shu. He will be Zheng Yaoxian's iron rod in the future, and he has a grudge with Zheng for more than 10 years. You can show kindness and repay him endlessly when he is in trouble. Grudges and grudges. Meng Ying felt helpless and silently said to herself, can you change the word? Zheng Yaoxian is still my man on the surface at least. Your behavior can easily cause misunderstandings. The system, which exposed its low language proficiency, had no idea what shamelessness was. Following its own logic, it explained, as for the timeline, I can't spoil too much. Anyway, this is the key figure. Okay, shut up, I'll take a break. It's really a coincidence. When Meng Ying arrived at the hospital gate, Song Shaoan was standing guard with a team of people. As soon as he saw Meng Ying, he immediately called out, hello sister. In law. The young man standing opposite him also turned around, and his facial features were exactly the same as what the system had just described. She immediately understood and asked coldly, Sir, have we met before? Her expression was serious with a hint of curiosity, without any hint of conversation. Gong Shu was exceptionally quick-witted and immediately recognized that this was Zheng Yaoxian's unmarried wife. Recalling the relationships he had previously known, he immediately spoke up and said, Oh, by the way, I think I have also seen my wife before. Have you ever worked as a medical staff member on the front line of Sichuan and Hunan, as a member of Xia Gong Shu, who served on the front line before and was injured and admitted to our field hospital? Oh, that's definitely right. Meng Ying looked around and noticed that Song Shaoan had been watching her all along. She sighed faintly, it's not easy to be in a chaotic world. I'm glad to see a wounded person like you survive. I hope you have a smooth future. At this point, it means farewell. Gong Shu didn't dare to pester him anymore. He just handed the hardbound dim sum forward, saying that they were a reward for the treatment in that year. Although Meng Ying knew that the boy had never received his own care at all, he also took them into the building politely because the system was always nagging. Zheng Yaoxian had already woken up at this moment, lying on his clothes. Although he looked weak, his eyes were still lively. Su Baichuan is guarding him on the side, who is also in his 40s. In his early years, he was also known as the 8 Great Kings of the Military Statistics Bureau, on par with Xiangyi. Unfortunately, he almost fell into the hands of Agent 76 during the Shanghai anti-rape campaign in 41. It was Xiangyi who carried him on his back and hid in the underground waterway for a while, seeking an opportunity to escape and save his life. But due to the severe ulceration of the wound, I could only work as a training civilian from now on. Over the years, not only did my status decline, but my health also declined significantly. This night, Xiangyi was both worried and commanding people to harass the Central Committee. Even now, his face has turned yellow and he looks very weathered. Xiangyi saw Meng Ying and inexplicably felt a little relieved. He secretly gave a glance and said, "You're not scared, are you? What clothes are you going back to get? Fourth brother is ready." When Su Baichuan was in the Japanese war zone, he received the favor of Meng Ying and was also very protective of his own character. He quickly advised, "Lao Lu, don't be ignorant. Sisters care about you. I'm not afraid you two will laugh at me. If I were shot and taken to the hospital, my family might have gotten off the mahjong table." As soon as he said this, both Zheng and Meng felt a bit embarrassed. It's really not appropriate to comment on the private matters of the couple. Meng Ying then advised, "Fourth brother, don't say that. You've been staying with Yao Xian all night, so why don't you go back and take a nap? There are me and the brothers outside here. Even if you can't sleep, it's still good to take care of the children. Xiao Fei is going to elementary school this year and needs his father's care and guidance the most. Su Xiaofei is Su Baichuan's only son and lifeline." Su Baichuan, exhausted both physically and mentally, revealed his family's disgrace. He also regretted it a bit, so he walked down the steps and said, "Ah, good luck. My younger siblings study education and specialize in martial arts. I will follow my younger siblings' advice." After that, he reminded Xiangyi a few words and left. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Hu Xiangyi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Hu Xiangyi. Xiangyi gestured to Meng Ying to help him up and sit down, and weakly sighed, "What we fake couples do sometimes is even more interesting than real couples." He lived under high pressure all day, often saying things to close people. Lu Haodong got used to it, and Fang Menjing naturally got used to it and wasn't angry. But she still advised, "You hurt your trachea, just say a few words less." Xiangyi gave her a approving glance and slowly said, "Comrade Meng Ying, I just heard Su Baichuan say that you handled things really well this time, which greatly exceeded my expectations. This is not just a compliment. Meng Ying has only 3 years of party experience, and besides covering up for Xiangyi and Lao Lu, he also needs to study at a teacher training secondary school. Xiangyi doesn't have much time to teach her yet. This time, he originally wanted her to be quiet and not cause trouble. As a result, she gave such a big surprise. Although she didn't recognize the few plain clothes she caught now, as long as she could get down to the ground, there would be plenty of room for writing. Meng Ying has been with him for many years and is both a teacher and a friend. Although we speak with respect, we are straightforward and say, "Brother Zheng, please don't praise me. The situation is still not optimistic. Qing Zhen'er has gone to the liberated areas in western Hubei, and there is no news yet. We have reduced our staff again, and Comrade Lao Lu may not be able to appear for the time being. How to carry out our future work will depend on how you get better and consider in the long run." Zheng Yao nodded first and then asked, "By the way, I heard that you just went out to get your clothes. Why did you come back with a box of dim sum? I can't eat this now." Fang Menjing talked about Zhao Jianji and Gong Shu aside, and Xiangyi looked at her with even more satisfaction. In fact, he had already considered the issue of insufficient personnel, and the best way was to turn Meng Ying's peripheral identity into an undercover agent. Meng Ying's performance also strengthened his confidence, making him unable to help but say, "I saved you back then, and I really saved you the right thing. Since coming to this time and space, Fang Menjing, the most unbearable thing is the male chauvinism that these men unconsciously display, which is even more insidious than the straight man cancer in New China. However, she also cannot cross the generation gap for more than 70 years to blame others, so she had to get up and close the window, saying, "The weather is still cold now, don't take too long to breathe." At the moment she got up, Zheng Yaoxian happened to see her fair profile, which was as smooth as jade in close view, but it carries a strong aura. Let him face it once again, the little girl who was once lonely and helpless has grown up. And the breeding of this emotion immediately made Zheng Yaoxian realize that something was wrong. He quickly stopped and disguised himself, saying, "Okay, listen to you. If you get news about Lao Lu and Zhenair, you must pass it on to me as soon as possible. Don't count on me again for the 3 guerrilla fighters killed by the Central Intelligence Bureau this time. This is really a deadly matter," and Meng Ying had to say hello before persuading, "You can rest for a while longer. With so many things to do, you must have the strength to plan. Otherwise, if things come to you, we won't be able to do it." Zheng Yaoxian was about to agree when suddenly the door was pushed open by Song Shaoan. He roared anxiously as if he no longer had the proper demeanor of a half-hearted believer. "Brother Lu, there's an accident. The boss wants to kill all the people who arrested and interrogated Zheng Moi to thank our 73 brothers who have been trapped in the community/district. Fang Menjing. Is it my crow's mouth fault as a wife's crow mouth?" Zheng Yaoxian, the nominal husband, cannot stand idly by. Anyway, Zheng Yaoxian was almost carried to the headquarters of the Military Statistics Bureau. Although Meng Ying was not at ease, she was also helpless. How to say that the 6th brother of Zheng Moi's case is the overall person in charge? If he watches these brothers who are involved in these actions be executed, then his foundation in the lower echelons of the military statistics will be ruined. Sometimes Meng Ying also worries about Zheng Yaoxian when she thinks about it. Although it is extremely difficult to go deep into the tiger's den at the moment, she has been with these subordinates for many years, and once she turns against her ideals, it must be a military encounter. Zheng Yaoxian's pain is self-evident. With this thought in mind, Meng Ying rarely became disheartened. In order not to trouble herself, she began to clean the ward. The plainclothes and nurses who were left behind wanted to help, but she also stopped them. At this moment, a thin nurse suddenly walked over and asked, "Ani, is that you?" Meng Ying was shocked at the words and looked up. The little nurse saw her face, which was even more beautiful and mature than before. She was extremely excited and quickly took off her mask, revealing a full moon-like hibiscus face. The red mole at the corner of her eyes was particularly bright, like a ruby, evoking Meng Ying's memories of war and youth. She stood up excitedly and held the little nurse's hand, saying, "It's me, spicy girl, you're still alive." The little nurse burst into tears and smiled, saying, "You still call me that way, so many colleagues and injured people think I'm from Sichuan. My name is Xiangyi, which means the spring breeze is infinite and the fragrance of Xiang. Meng Ying learned her Hunan dialect and said, "My family is a wealthy family in Xiangtan, Hunan. I also have an older sister who works as a nurse on the front line in Changsha." The two of them smiled at each other, feeling that they had survived the disaster and reunited as old friends, which was the most beautiful thing. Meng Ying decided to leave the hospital with Xiangyi and find a nearby tea house to reminisce about the past. She was originally worried that Xiangyi wouldn't be able to leave in class, but she said, "It's okay. I have already submitted my resignation report. If it weren't for hearing that Officer Zheng's wife is here these days, I wouldn't have come to work. Anyway, I won't be paid." Meng Ying was surprised and said, "Why, you're not in this business anymore? Or have you finally heard your cousin say you're going to the United States?" Xiangyi was a friend Meng Ying made when she was working as a nurse on the front line. It was around 1941, when she had just escaped from the Japanese war zone. Although there were many medical staff in the front hospital, the war was intense, and the pressure on the Sichuan-Hunan defense line was heavy. The huge workload made everyone extremely busy. I don't have time to make friends at all. Although Meng Ying and Hu Xiangyi live in the same dormitory, they are just acquaintances nodding their heads. The real transformation came from this heroic act of the Xiang girl. Countless wounded soldiers were sent to the frontline hospital for treatment every day, and people who were injured for their country died in pain every day. And to a large extent, this is because some people corrupt foreign aid like penicillin and make money on the black market, but because of their identities, no one dare to say. Hu Xiangyi couldn't help but quietly find Meng Ying, hoping that she could help expose this ugly reality. Meng Ying knew why she chose herself. Every time the hospital received insufficient amounts of penicillin, she had to swallow her pride and sign a receipt. This kind of frustration was not liked by anyone, so she was naturally pushed to do it. Anyway, she was also arranged by the Military Statistics Bureau and did not fit in with the people around her. But precisely because of this, she was able to reach the exact number. Meng Ying agreed very happily and did things cleanly, which surprised Hu Xiangyi a lot. After all, investigating such matters is not a joke. But her next move made Meng Ying admire her very much. This petite girl took the initiative to become an announcer when the military propaganda team came to comfort her during the performance. The autumn moon was clear, and Hu Xiangyi, dressed in nurse attire, was particularly bright. He used the most standard official language of his life to expose this astonishing deficit, causing an uproar among the military. Under the Japanese artillery fire, the importance of hospitals to frontline officers was not inferior to military rations and weapons. Several legion commanders were all alarmed, and it was said that they even ended up causing trouble with the committee/staff chief. After pulling their skin for a long time, they forced the bureaucrats to pause their operations, and after all, the situation was finally resolved due to the current situation of the Japanese army. This article touches on the plot of Battle of Changsha. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Big Figures. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Big Figures. As the saying goes, the teacher was beaten to death by random punches, and Hu Xiangyi, who was not afraid of tigers as a newborn calf, gained great fame. However, such a big event still led her to be taken away at that time. But she never mentioned the word Meng Ying from beginning to end during the interrogation. This was what Zheng Yaoxian said when he picked her up afterwards. At this point, Meng Ying seemed to feel that the world was no longer so illusory, and the characters inside were all flesh and blood with warmth. Fortunately, Hu Xiangyi was released only a few days later. After this incident, it was difficult for their relationship to escalate rapidly. Hu Xiangyi also openly stated that she came from a wealthy family in Xiangtan, and one of her cousins married the only child of the Gu family in the government. Coupled with the commotion, some democratic activists protested, and she was quickly released. The kind-hearted girl also said, "Ani, those people have investigated my ancestors for 8 generations and only released me after confirming that I have a halfpenny relationship with the Communist Party. It's really funny. It seems like all the good things were done by the Marxist-Leninists." Meng Ying. It seems that the Communist Party really intervened in this matter. Of course, she was behind the scenes, and more importantly, she was still in the preparatory period at that time. However, as a joke, in order to prevent retaliation, the Gu family still used their connections shortly after to transfer Xiangyi away, and the location was not widely announced. Meng Ying felt very sad about it for a while, but quickly got busy. Zheng Yaoxian said, "Those vampires are bleeding a lot. If you slow down, you will definitely openly trouble you. Although they are greedy, they are not stupid. You know both Italian and English at the entire frontline hospital, just in case, you must leave." Then she was taken into Chongqing by Zheng Yaoxian and moved into Zheng Yaoxian's supporting room, causing a shock in the investigation system of the Republic of China. Therefore, it took her a long time to officially join the organization through Lu Haodong. From then on, the two of them who have only heard of each other until now are truly old acquaintances from a foreign land. It's endless to talk about them. Meng Ying also knew that Xiangyi was indeed leaving Chongqing, but the destination was not the free/democratic/autonomous rice country, but Hangzhou. Almost all the male heirs in the family died in the war, except for one cousin who narrowly avoided the Japanese massacre by participating in the Air Force during the War of Resistance against Japan. However, now that the war is over, he still needs to work at the Hangzhou Aviation School. The sister-in-law in Xiangtan's hometown almost cried their eyes out, and I felt very angry. So I asked Xiaoqiu to go to Hangzhou and kidnap him back. Hu Xiang finished speaking with great enthusiasm and added, Xiaoqiu is a child adopted by my grandfather and can be considered our adopted son. In fact, Hu Xiaoqiu has always regarded himself as a foreigner, how dare he do it? The head of the eldest young lady, but as a loyal butler, he naturally wants his own young master to come back and take over the family business. Thinking that Miss Xiangyi is still an open-minded person, young Master Xiangping is really causing this little girl some trouble. This dead horse is treated as a living horse doctor. I only hope for the blessings of the Hu family ancestors, otherwise it will be really difficult for this orphan and widowed mother. Meng Ying looked at her chattering close friends and didn't know how to comfort them. The "Death Never Dies" system went online with a ding sound. Host, Miss Hu is the only daughter of Hu Changhe, the third son of the Hu family in Xiangtan. The cousin she is looking for is called Hu Xiangping, and she is with Fang Menjing's elder brother Fang Mengao at Hangzhou Aviation School. Do you want to start the economic and livelihood storyline in advance? In Zheng Yaoxin's position, even if Meng Ying only went to the intersection of the street to have a cup of tea, she was still protected by the Military Statistics Bureau's plainclothes. Meng Ying was quite polite to these people and even gave them the pastries she brought out as a dental offering. At the same time, she said she wanted to chat for a while longer and asked them to take care of her. If sixth brother returned, she would also inform them. The plainclothes agreed to their good words. Everyone knows that Brother Six not only has power, but also, in order to save his brothers, disregarding his recent visit from the gates of hell, he went to plead with Boss Dai. These types of characters are exactly what the lower level of the Military Statistics Bureau craves to follow. So who wouldn't want to sell well to his inner shopkeeper? Unexpectedly, less than an hour after Sister Lu went in to sit, she suddenly heard her little companion calling for help. These people rushed in and saw that Meng Ying's face was pale, her breathing was tight, and it seemed like she was sick again. She immediately pulled a yellow charter car and took the person to the hospital. Without hesitation, she also took Hu Xiangyi back. Sister Lu was fine and stayed alone with you for a while, and it turned out like this. If she didn't invite you back, who would take on Brother Lu's questioning? Fortunately, before Meng Yinglin lost consciousness, she urgently instructed that it was not related to Xiangyi and strictly prohibited rudeness, fearing that she would not be invited but directly tortured. This kind of thing has been done by the Military Statistics Bureau. That's all, Xiangyi couldn't figure it out. Meng Ying fainted and it was difficult for her to ask. But when she thought about it, she just said she wanted to go to Hangzhou to find her cousin. Why did her friends suddenly turn pale and start breathing hard? They lived together, and naturally knew that Meng Ying had suffered from a heart and lung disease from the explosion in the Japanese-occupied area. However, she only felt uncomfortable when she was overworked or emotionally unstable, but she really didn't remember where to stimulate her. Meng Ying is actually very helpless. Her physical memory is far longer than her brain. The shock of the name Fang Mengao was unexpected. When she was young, she loved and resented during the war. Love and hate intertwined, and her already damaged heart couldn't bear it and could only fall into a coma. I don't know if I'm feeling guilty, but this broken system hasn't been launched yet. She only vaguely felt that she had been sent to the neighboring nursing room, not Zheng Yaoxian's ward. When Meng Ying woke up again, the sun was already tilting towards the west. Hu Xiangyi was sitting at the head of the bed, surprised and happy to see her. She quickly supported her and said, "Thank goodness, you're finally awake. Be careful, you're still getting in for drip." Meng Ying said, "Okay, I have also worked as a nurse and know the importance." "They didn't make it difficult for you, did they?" "No, I just don't know what big shot is coming. The entire floor is sealed off, and I can't even leave if I want to." Xiangyi felt a bit helpless as she had to go on a long journey and had a lot of things to pack. "By the way, that person seems to be with your husband, why don't you help me talk about it?" Xiangyi didn't know the strange family rules of the Military Statistics Bureau, so she should have assumed that the two were already married. Meng Ying couldn't have rushed to say that she had no name or score. Meng Ying had already understood what she was saying, and when she sat down, she quietly said, "That person is Mr. Dai." Xiangyi's face changed as expected, and Meng Yingfu advised, "Now you know, it's useless for me to talk. You can stay with me for a while. Otherwise, if you go to Hangzhou, you may have to live in Xiangtan for a long time. We don't know if we'll have the chance to meet again." At the end, it was a bit sad. Born in turbulent times and backward transportation make some differences truly lifelong. End of this chapter. 10, Chapter 10. Director Dai has an eye on you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Director Dai has an eye on you. Meng Ying had already understood what she was saying, and when she sat down, she quietly said, "That person is Mr. Dai." Xiangyi's face changed as expected, and Meng Yingfu advised, "Now you know, it's useless for me to talk. You can stay with me for a while. Otherwise, if you go to Hangzhou, you may have to live in Xiangtan for a long time. We don't know if we'll have the chance to meet again." At the end, it was a bit sad. Born in troubled times, some differences are truly lifelong. Upon hearing this, Xiangyi's heart softened and she quickly agreed. Suddenly, she remembered what happened during the day and asked, "By the way, why did you suddenly get sick and what kind of stimulation did you have? We were together all along at that time, how come I didn't notice?" He also suffered so much torture from the Military Statistics Bureau. Of course she didn't know, but for the Military Statistics Bureau, it really wasn't torture. Meng Ying sighed, wondering how she could tell others about her relationship with the Fong family. She didn't even know how to face it herself. It belonged to the emotions of Meng Ying, a young Fong who would always stay at the age of 11. She had no right to enjoy the care of the Fong family, let alone forgive Fong Buting. This is also why she has been in Chongqing for many years but has never actively contacted. "Maybe I've been tired lately. Yiqian, Zheng Yaoxian's courtesy name, keeps getting injured at work, but there's nothing I can do about it. We'll find out about this family's long-standing issues after you get married." After all, Xiangyi was still a big girl and felt a bit uncomfortable when she heard this. She spat out, "You're not ashamed, I'm not getting married." Meng Ying smiled and said, "What's wrong with this? Most people want to get married and have children. You're 1 year older than me. If it weren't for the war, based on your family background, you might have already promised someone." The speaker was unintentional, but Xiangyi was caught off guard. In fact, she had made a promise to someone earlier, but in a big war, her fiancé's family was destroyed. And her own family is also of zero population. Whenever she sees her widows missing each other on a long journey, she not only blames her brothers who have a country but no family, but also becomes pessimistic about marriage, although she has not yet realized it. And as soon as she went to Suzhou and Hangzhou, she was entangled in this heart and caused countless troubles, but this is what will happen later. Meng Yinglu and Xiangyi chatted about some old things, but they didn't realize that the moon was on the west tower, and the big shot next door finally moved away. Meng Ying lay in bed for a whole day, having already regained her strength and bid farewell to Xiangyi. Hurrying to Zheng Yaoxian's ward, she saw Zheng Yaoxian bowing her head and pondering. She was not in a hurry and found a chair to sit quietly on the side. Zheng Yaoxian suddenly opened his eyes and said, "This is the chair Dai Li was sitting in just now." Meng Ying heard this and jumped up like a conditioned reflex. She quickly changed her seat, and finally touched her heart to suppress surprise. Her little daughter's demeanor amused Zheng Yaoxian. That old ghost just praised you for moving forward and backward appropriately. If you were to be surprised like this, you should have slapped yourself. Meng Ying was vigilant and asked, "My heart is not scared, but I dare not trouble you, the bureau seat, to worry about it." Zheng Yaoxian suddenly had a serious expression on his face, and he was about to sit up with both hands. Meng Ying quickly cushioned him for life, then helped him sit down and asked, "What's wrong?" Having been together for many years, Zheng Yaoxian clearly had something to say. "Sure enough," he said next, "Meng Ying, I'm afraid Dai Li has already remembered you, or rather, suspected me." This shock was quite significant. Meng Ying was almost startled. At that moment, the system's grinding electronic bell sound came back. "Host, we are about to enter the critical storyline. We must not drop the chain. The system store currently has special effects heart-saving pills. May I ask if you want to exchange them?" Meng Ying hated and said, "Do I have any other choice? If I don't say anything, change it. In the future, this system will be called useless and read as deceitful." I don't know how this cunning was done, but it was just a snap of her fingers. Meng Ying's chest suddenly relaxed, her breathing became smoother, and her expression naturally improved a lot. Zheng Yaoxian looked at her and asked, "What's wrong? Have you been suffering from frequent illnesses lately?" "It's okay. The medicine prescribed by Lao Lu is very effective, and I will be fine for a while. Don't worry about me yourself. The British devil in the army hospital said I could live for 1 year, and this has also come." Meng Ying pretended to be relaxed. In fact, her body still has a system bug in essence, and many things can't be explained by modern medicine. There was Lu Haodong who swore to the Yellow Emperor's canon of internal medicine nearby, and Meng Ying pushed him, which made Lao Lu really think that his medical skills had improved greatly, and almost wanted to give acupuncture and moxibustion to the guerrilla wounded. Yuan's secretary Duan and team leader roast and warned, and then changed the plain questions under the pillow into the latest conference spirit document. Meng Ying was about to ask what Dai Li had said to Zheng Yaoxian, but he didn't want him to start by saying, "Dai Li wants me to go to Yan'an to carry out a mission, but you are still easily exposed. He probably said he wants to take you to Beiping under the pretext of searching for relatives in order to control me." Meng Ying. This world is too mysterious, I feel like I'm really not good. Zheng Yaoxian stared at Meng Ying for a while. Although he understood in his heart, he had to speak up and said, "All right, there's nothing else to say. Your background is well known, and we both know. I even bit you to death with Lao Lu. You're an orphan, but when Dai Li spoke up today, I was startled and almost exposed. Thanks to the expensive special effect heart-saving pill, Meng Ying can still think normally now and say, 'Don't be humble, my sixth brother. If I really want to reveal my true identity, I won't be allowed to come see you. By the way, how did that old ghost tell you?' He said it well, saying that you, as a younger sister, handle the affairs of the Central Intelligence Bureau and Zhao Jianji in an orderly manner, and are a person who lives a good life. Now that the anti-Japanese war is over, the Military Intelligence Bureau should do some happy things. He also found out that your hometown is in Suzhou and Hangzhou. He insisted on taking you to Nanjing to find your family this time, and gave me an excuse to go on a mission." Zheng Yaoxian continued to joke. Meng Yingqi said, "No, isn't he going to Beijing? Why is he going to Nanjing again? You know from there that Ma Han-san in Beiping crossed the border with the pretext of suppressing corruption and corruption. The Pingjin area has always been a place where progressive youth are active on the outskirts of the party. He needs to go to Shock first, and then take a special plane to Nanjing. As for the specific official duties, I don't know. Zheng Yaoxian said he wanted to take a cigarette to refresh himself, but his hands were empty. He understood that Meng Ying would never compromise on this issue, so he had to reluctantly give up. But when I looked back at Meng Ying, I found that he was stunned again and urgently called out, "Xiao Meng, what's wrong with you?" Meng Ying regained her composure and quickly apologized, saying, "I'm sorry, Brother Lu. It seems that there have been many things lately and I've been feeling sad and tired. I really should take my medicine well." After that, she went to brew a cup of pu'er tea for Zheng Yaoxian and serve him to drink to moisten his throat. Dai Li bagged mountain, rain farmer dies in the rain, end of this chapter.